come with a halo or wings. These are not gods. They're men. And sometimes they're right, and sometimes they're wrong. You know, let me give you a crystal clear example. It was 32 years ago that Newsweek magazine published the ultimate story on global cooling. This is where some scientists suggested, you're going to laugh when you hear this, that they actually would put soot on the polar ice caps to expedite the melting of the polar ice caps. Exactly the opposite of what scientists are trying to do today. By the way, you can read that actual and entire article at glenbeck.com. It's on the front page. As unthinkable as it may seem, some experts, including a Nobel Prize winner, are suggesting today that releasing a layer of pollution into the atmosphere could help cool a globally warmed planet. Welcome to Crazy Town, USA. You think you're saving the planet with your Prius, right? That's what you've been told. Guess again. By 2020, the Chinese will be pumping as much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere as 3 billion Ford Expeditions, each driven 15,000 miles a year. Now, considering that it takes 5 years to sell 1 million Expeditions, that means it would take 15,000 years to make, sell, and drive enough Fords to equal China's carbon dioxide output in just the next 15 years. That's a factor of 1,000 for just one country on planet Earth. Next time, what do you say? Go with your gut. Get the Hummer H1. She's sweet. Here's what I don't know. When are scientists going to lose their arrogance? When will we stop encouraging them? Remember, scientists are never wrong in the present. They're only wrong in the past. Diversity of opinion isn't just an ideal component of meaningful research, it is essential. Bjorn Lomborg, he is a scientist, he's an author of The Skeptical Environmentalist. Bjorn, you actually started as someone on the global warming bandwagon, and now environmentalists hate you. Why?
Basically, Glenn, good to be back. Basically because I keep telling them it's not the only problem in the world. Yes, climate change is a problem, but we got to ask, what are all the different problems in the world? And we also got to ask, how much can we do about climate change? You mentioned yourself, China is going to be a big factor in what's going to happen in the future. And China is very unlikely to say, oh yeah, let's cut our emissions dramatically so that you guys can live easier. They want to get rich first. And so we've got to ask ourselves, how much can we actually change the weather? And the answer is very little at very high cost, compared to all the other things that we can do.
Okay, now tell me if this is true or not. I have heard that the largest paper in Denmark was supposed to do an interview with Al Gore, I think it was today, and ask the tough questions. When they were told, the Al Gore camp first said, no, we won't do it with Bjorn, then they canceled the interview altogether. The question for me, or to you, from me, is, what are they afraid of with you? Why isn't there a willingness to debate this reasonably?
That's a very good question, and of course, I can't answer for Al Gore, but I'd love you to ask him that question. We're actually going to write an op-ed in Wall Street Journal tomorrow, exactly asking him that question, saying, listen, Al, we'll meet with you wherever, whenever, to ask you those questions, because isn't that important to have this conversation? If he's right, it should be a shoo-in, but if he's not, at least somebody ought to ask him those questions.
Right. Okay. Now,
and one of the questions, just to give you a sense.
Go ahead.
Okay, one of the questions would be, obviously, he claims that sea levels, and this is the only thing he talks about, that sea levels could rise 20 feet. Now, the UN Climate Panel, composed of thousands of scientists, the best thing we have as a consensus on what the scientists believe, tells us it's going to be 1 foot. How can you say something that's wildly exaggerated and then yet still be used in school boards in Scotland, by the way, also in Sweden and Norway?
Okay.
That doesn't seem like informing us in the right way.
Let me go here with you, because I believe something is happening. I mean, I'm not sticking my head in the sand here. Global warming probably is happening. Global climate change is real, but it probably is natural. But what we're talking about here is, and correct me if I'm wrong, isn't what we're suggesting or what they're suggesting suggesting, kind of like saying, oh, you have cancer, I'm going to treat you with this new experimental medicine called chemo, but I can only treat part of your body because I can't treat the whole body, and it's really only going to give you a couple of months extra to live, and it's going to just ravage you in the meantime. Isn't that kind of the solutions that we're talking about with Al Gore now?
They're certainly proposing that we should do very expensive solutions that will do very little good. Some academics actually pointed out it's a little bit like talking to a man who's obese, an alcoholic, smokes, and then you tell him the most important thing is that you put on your seatbelt. It just simply doesn't address the main issues that the world is facing. The issue, of course, is to say, let's fix all the important problems that we know how to fix, that we can fix very cheaply. Take, for instance, malaria, which Al Gore talks quite a bit about. He tells us global warming makes malaria worse, so we should do something about global warming. That sounds smart, but the point is he could save 2 million lives with the malaria through climate change. We could save 28 billion lives. Isn't that better?
Yes, it is. Bjorn, thank you very much, and we'll look for your op-ed piece tomorrow. A lot of people say that the planet is doomed, and global warming is here to stay. I don't know. There's bound to be a solution to this. I think we just need to start looking outside the box.
While scientists argue about who's responsible for global warming, only one person has the courage to actually do something about it, to come up with a logical, foolproof plan that once and for all will put an end to global warming. His name is Glen Beck, and his plan is quite simple. Just eliminate the source of our problem. Yes, blow up the sun.
This is Glen Beck.